Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie and I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Thank you for tuning in. The theme of the first episode is weird family dynamics, creepy family dynamics, and updates only. So all of these stories are going to have updates. The title of the first story is, I think my husband is having an affair with his stepsister. Just what the title says. I believe my 24 female husband, 24 male, and his stepsister, 23 female, are having an affair. My head is spinning and I don't know what to do. My husband's parents got divorced when he was 15 and his dad remarried when he was 17. His stepmom has one daughter, let's call her Jess, who was 16 at the time of the marriage. They all lived together for about a year and a half before he left for college, which is where him and I met freshman year. Our sophomore year, Jess began going to the same school as us. He introduced her to our friend group, and she quickly became a part of it. They always seemed more like friends than siblings because obviously their parents didn't marry till they were older, but they'd sometimes refer to each other as brother and sister. Back then, I sometimes got the vibe that she was flirting with him, but he never returned it, and I just brushed it off as her personality and that I was being crazy because there's no way that would happen. Fast forward to now, we all still live in our hometown and see each other pretty often. Jess is single and hasn't had a boyfriend in several years. Her and my husband are still very close. When we are all hanging out together, including their parents, if we're sitting on the couch, she will sit right up against him. Sometimes even put her head on his shoulder if he's showing her videos on his phone. I've always found it odd, but again, I've brushed it off. Of course, they aren't actually related, but it would still be too taboo and weird, so I've never fully let myself have the suspicions. However, over the last 6 months, things have been getting weirder. Both my husband and I's birthdays are in April and only a week apart. So, over the last couple of years, we've kind of just combined them and celebrated both at the same time. We had friends and family over, and normally we also receive joint gifts, but this year, Jess got my husband something specific to him, fairly expensive gaming headphones and a watch, but nothing for me. And she also got him a card and wrote a decent amount in it. I didn't get to read it when we were opening things, and then later on, I couldn't find it. When I asked my husband where it was, he brushed it off saying, oh, he must have just accidentally thrown it out with its envelope, but the envelope was still with everything else on the counter. They've been texting a lot more, and she's also been talking to me less. Remember, her and I have been friends for the last 5 years. Sometimes I'll see texts from her pop up on his phone screen, and there will be multiple heart emojis and heart eye emojis. This will be while he's holding it, and he'll unlock it pretty fast, so I've never really been able to see what they say. If I ask her to meet up or hang out with just me, she's always busy. But if it's her coming over to our home to see the both of us, she never says no. He also has been going to see her more often, which is kind of a complicated detail because she still lives at home with her mom and his dad, so he just tells me he's going to hang out with his dad for a bit. But I have a feeling it's for her. Him and I have also been less intimate lately. Neither of us have ever had super high sex drives, but we have always averaged at least twice a week, and now it's about 2 to 3 times a month. What's pushed me over the edge is when we all got together this past July 4th, we were at my father-in-law's house for a big cookout/pool party. While in the pool, she kept hanging on him from behind. Picture him giving her a piggyback ride in the water, splashing him, being overly playful, etc. I kept thinking in my head I was crazy because maybe after all these years they really do have a sibling-like dynamic and she's just messing around. But I also caught her staring at me when my husband and I were being close, and she looked angry. Now, cut to the worst of it all. We all were done in the pool and went inside to change. I was with my husband in his room, and right in the middle of us changing, she came in without knocking, randomly asking if she could borrow my hairbrush. My husband didn't have any clothes on. I was horrified and said something like, OMG, you need to knock first. She seemed unfazed and lazily covered her eyes, saying, oh, whatever, he's basically like my brother. My husband seemed kind of embarrassed, but also not as much as you would expect. She left like it was nothing, and since then she's barely spoken to me at all, and I'm absolutely spiraling at the thought of this. Am I being crazy? I haven't said anything to him yet about this because I'm so scared to be wrong, and then I'm just accusing him of sleeping with his stepsister, which is crazy. I need other people to tell me if they agree with what I've been seeing or not. I mean, yeah, I do fear that I agree. Also because they're not like brother and sister. They met later on in life when they were like 16, 17. It's still so weird to me. Like, it's still so weird to me. I don't know. It's just, you shouldn't. I just think the moment somebody becomes related to you, whether it be by law or by blood, I still think it's just as weird. And that's coming from someone who grew up with step-siblings. If I were 17 at the time that my parents got remarried, I mean, I was older when my mom got remarried, and I don't even look at my stepbrother as a brother because I really haven't spent like any time with him at all. But I still would never dare to date him or even do anything of the sort because he is my stepbrother. Like, that's just weird to me. I mean, I don't think it's as weird, obviously, as hooking up with your actual brother or like someone that's blood related to you, but I still just find it weird. Like, just go find anybody else. Go find literally anyone else in the entire world. Does it have to be your stepbrother? Okay, there's 2 small little updates, and we're just going to read them all right now. And then I think there's a bigger update after that. Yeah, there's a really long update after that, so... Small updates. Thank you to everyone who has responded. When I made this post, I was hoping for validation of my worries, but also scared at the same time. I'm trying to keep it together and act normal around him the best I can. Tomorrow, he's going over to his dad's, so he says, so I plan to show up there and see what's going on. Another slight update, because I know you guys are invested, an update, but not really. Yes, I did go to his dad's house on Saturday. A lot has happened since then, and I haven't been on my phone much. When I get time later tonight, I will post a full update on what's going on. I'll most likely make a new post about it because it's been hard keeping up with the comments about this one. Bear with me as I get my head sorted out. Updating to say I created a new post to give a full update on what's happened. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm scared. I think my husband and his stepsister are having an affair. Update posted July 31st, 2024. Hey everyone, sorry that it's been so long since I made my original post about this. If you haven't seen it, you can find it on my profile. To say that our family has been totally imploded since I last posted would be an understatement. So much has happened that I never expected or was prepared for, so I apologize that I kind of ghosted all of you. But this has been really hard. Just an FYI, I'll be mentioning text messages a fair amount and I will be paraphrasing. Leaving off from my last update, I did go to his dad's house that weekend that my husband told me he was going to see him. When I got there, only my husband's car was in the driveway. I wasn't sure what to do, if I should try calling his dad, calling my husband, or what. I decided to just go in because I didn't want to play any games. I walk in and I hear his and Jess's voice coming from the kitchen, and it sounded like they were yelling. Even now, I couldn't tell you what they were saying. I was so full of adrenaline as I approached them, it was like I was watching them on mute or something and not actually hearing what was happening. He spotted me and looked like a deer in headlights, and all I could muster up to say was, "What's going on?" I stared at them for a couple seconds, and then my fight or flight kicked in. I'm very non-confrontational, so my instinct was to turn around and run. He chased after me and pulled me into a guest room to talk. Again, I asked what was going on, that he's been acting so weird, and so has Jess, and point blank asked if he was cheating on me. He seemed shocked at that question, but then out of nowhere, he started bawling his eyes out. I've never seen my husband cry before. He said that no, he's not cheating, but he does have something to tell me, but couldn't do it there and needed to leave / for us to go back to our house. At first, I protested and said no, I needed to know right then and right there. But he was still having a breakdown and begging me, so I agreed. We left his car there and drove home together in mine, but I sat in silence the whole ride as he cried and was trying to collect himself. When we got home, we sat in the living room, and I once again asked him what the F was happening, and my patience had run thin. Then out came his word vomit. He told me that in college, our junior / Jess's sophomore year, after him and a bunch of our friends had gone out to a party, we were dating by this time, but I wasn't there that night. I'd come home for the weekend to hang out with family that was in town usually. He got really drunk, and our guy friends kind of ditched him to go hook up, so Jess offered him to crash on her couch for the night. Our school had on-campus apartments, and she had single because she was an RA. He said he woke up at some point after that, with his pants down and her on top of him, having sex. He told me at the time he felt out of it and didn't really get what was happening, and that's all he remembers was waking up and feeling it / seeing her. He then woke up again a couple hours later, and then she was asleep in her own bed, so he left and went back to his own dorm. He never told anyone. It took him a long time to even fully understand what had happened, and he felt like he couldn't tell anyone because 1, he felt ashamed and embarrassed, and 2, he didn't think anyone would believe him. 3, he didn't want to be known as the guy that slept with his stepsister. 4, he was afraid of losing me, and 5, he was worried about his dad and if he found out that it could affect or ruin his new marriage, and that his dad is so happy with his stepmom. He told me he basically just acted like nothing happened, even around Jess when we all hung out together. He said him and her never spoke about it or said anything up until a couple of years later, when him and I got engaged after graduation. She sent him a text essentially saying she loved him and thought about that night all the time, and that why did their parents have to meet and get married? They could be together otherwise, etc. Essentially, she's obsessed with him. Shamefully, I will admit, when he first told me all of this, I wasn't sure what to think or believe until I saw their text messages. I questioned him, saying, if this was the case, why are they always talking? Why wouldn't he distance himself now that we're married and out of school? He told me it started up again with her about 6 months ago, like I said on my original post, when him and I told our families that we decided we wanted to try for a baby. He had a screenshot of the text she sent him the next day, ranting about how he shouldn't do this, marriages aren't permanent until a baby comes into the mix, there's still a chance for them to be honest with their family and for him to leave me, she still loves him after all this time, etc. He replied saying he loved me and wanted to start a family with me, and that he didn't love her in that way, and he never wanted her to bring this up to him ever again. That's when her demeanor changed, and she said if he didn't love her, why did he F her, and what would their family think? Essentially blackmailing him. I read through as many of their other texts as I could handle, and it was always her saying things like she was thinking about him, she wants to see him. She would even send texts while we were all together telling him he looks good in that outfit. Sometimes he wouldn't reply, and others he'd be trying to have a normal convo / steer in a different direction, and sometimes just telling her to stop it. The days he's told me he's going to hang out with his dad, it's her begging him to go over there so she can see him, or she will tell her mom everything. So he agreed to go, but he swears nothing has ever happened. That one of their parents would be there a majority of the time, and it would just be all of them on the patio or in the living room. That day, he went there to tell her he was sick of it and he couldn't do it anymore. She could tell people whatever she wants, but he was done, and that's why they were yelling. I sat there taking it all in. Honestly, I was speechless as I did not expect any of this. I asked him about our sudden lack of intimacy, essentially only during my fertile window since we're trying to have a baby, but never any other times. And he said all of this being brought up for him has mentally made him shut down about sex. He was only doing it for me because I want a baby. That it's taken him so long to realize / come to the terms with the fact that she assaulted him and how this is harassment. I cried. I felt betrayed by her, and then a heavy, deep empathy for him. I just hugged him and cried, and he cried too. I told him he really needs to tell his dad because we can no longer associate with her in any way. And how can we manage that when she still lives with him? At first he said no. He couldn't because he's worried they won't believe him, and also he doesn't want to ruin his dad's life because how could the marriage with the stepmom survive this? I told him I don't have an answer for that. He has to trust that his dad will believe him, and I was also worried about her panicking after their argument and doing something crazy. He agreed to tell his dad and said he wanted to do it alone. The following weekend, he met up with his dad and told him everything, showed the text to him, etc. His dad believed him and, like me, was caught off guard and speechless. This led to him telling his wife and saying he was kicking Jess out. However, his wife did not believe it. She claims my husband must have edited the text somehow. Actual texts in the message app that you can scroll through, and it's Jess's number attached to the contact. Jess freaked out, saying none of it was true, and he was the one who'd been harassing her. That's when my husband threatened to take it all to the police for an order of protection against her if she did not tell the truth. And she finally admitted to everything in an insane meltdown. His stepmom is horrified. His dad doesn't know if he can get past her not believing my husband and accusing him. We're currently in this weird limbo phase of the whole family on edge. Jess is still living there. His dad has demanded she leave and has given her 2 weeks instead of kicking her out on the spot in an attempt to try and salvage the situation with his wife. My husband and I are having lots of talks, trying to regroup. We've put trying for a baby on hold as he seeks therapy for this. He still is considering going to the police for the harassment. My heart is broken for him, and also trying to come to terms with the truth that Jess, who I've known for years, would do something like this. I was prepared to uncover an affair, but never this. I'm not sure if there will be any more updates after this, maybe if my husband decides to pursue legal action. I want to say thanks to everyone who pushed me to dig into my suspicions. Otherwise, this could have gone even further. I don't like to think of what could have happened. I probably left a lot of things out, so if people have questions, I'll try my best to reply to the comments. I mean, good on you for believing him, because I feel like in a lot of cases we've seen situations similar to this one where the husband is not believed, and I think that it's definitely very common. I mean, it's very common in it's very common in just any assault case to not, or grape. This is definitely grape, but it's very common. A lot of people don't believe victims, which is obviously awful, but it is a very common thing that happens. And then more so even, I think men aren't believed because they're men, and it's always that, oh, well, you're a man, so you definitely wanted it, that's always what people go to, and that's always what people say. And it's actually that's not the case. And a bodily reaction does not mean that someone wanted anything. It's really sad and it's really scary to think about. But I'm really glad that he has the support of his family. And even if that stepmom didn't believe him, at least he had the people closest to him, his dad and his wife, to believe him and to support him through it. Because that's just an awful thing to go through. And then to also be being blackmailed by her, it's that's just layers and layers of trauma that just never needed to happen. It's really crazy that she took it as far as to blackmail him for something that she did, saying that she was gonna, what? Girl, you must be seriously ill if you think that was you guys consensually sleeping together. Okay, relevant comments. Oh wow, that's so intense. How are you doing with all of this? Way to be there for your husband, and also I'm glad you found out the truth. OP said, I'm really hurt and overwhelmed. Her and I were close for so long, so I'm really battling how she betrayed him, but me too. And I also feel guilty for having this back thought of feeling lied to by him when I know this wasn't his fault. He was assaulted and essentially stalked by her, so I in no way blame him. I'm just trying to shake the feeling and hoping it fades. The top comment says, I'm glad OP talked to her husband and realized Jess's behavior for the abuse/assault/grape it was. Poor guy, what a horrible situation to be in. And it gets so much worse. I'm in a similar situation, male essay, and it is shockingly difficult to find mental health providers who will take this problem on. I went through at least 40 providers who turned us down flat. It's really disheartening. Huh? What does that mean? They hear you say you got assaulted and they say, oh, no, sorry, bye. What's their job then? What? That's crazy. Okay, the title of the next story is, I, 26 male, think my wife, 25 female, is or was cheating on me with her cousin. All right, it's a long one, so bear with me. This situation happened about 2 weeks ago, and I've gone from fully trusting her to deeply doubting her. My wife and I met when I was 19, and we fell in love quite quickly. She had a 4-month-old child from a previous relationship. That father hasn't been in the picture since I've known her. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a father, but I have a genetic disorder I don't wish to pass on, so adoption was just great with me. Anyhow, we've been just like your normal family every day since then. We got married last year. She was never super close with her family, but she did have a pair of cousins that she was always kind of close to, and I had lots of fun getting to know them, and they seemed like decent people. She did mention that one of them, Max, we'll call him, had, when they were like 12 and 13, tried to kiss her, but she ran off. I asked her if she ever told anyone, and she said she chalked it up to him being a stupid kid. We see him on Christmas every year, and he seems like a normal dude. I actually like him, as her family is a bunch of stuffed shirts and he's down to earth. Stuffed shirts? Never heard of that. Recently, they've reconnected and gone to a few family functions. We own one car, and since I needed it for work, he picked her up and drove her to these things. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary about this. They're cousins, after all. Her behavior really didn't make any obvious changes. However, randomly I was watching TV one night. She came in and mentioned that I had friended a girl from my place of work. I accepted a friend request. We're a pretty open couple and things don't usually offend us. For instance, we'll remark on an attractive guy and make some sort of lewd remark, and I think nothing of telling her this woman was new in the office. She didn't accuse me of cheating, but it felt like she was about to, which has never happened before. The reason I mention this is because I've read that cheaters accuse their partners as a projection or something usually. Anyway, these family outings were legit. The whole family posts pictures on them on Facebook, and the wife sends pictures from the outings. There were 2 of these events, and each time, wife came home and was like a robot. Sex seemed normal, if not quieter than usual, but as she suffers from depression, she often gets cold every so often, and when I ask her if she was doing all right, she chalked it up to that. Well, 2 weeks ago, she leaves for work, and as it was my day off, I puttered around the house, dropped the boy off at school, and came home to check my email. On Facebook, I saw that I had a message from her cousin. He and I had recently discussed going out to see a farm team baseball game, and I thought he was just getting back to me about that. The message reads, quote, "I'd like to see you on your knees." I was confused as hell until I realized that my wife was still signed in, and it was her he was talking to. I wanted to kill him. I instantly rushed and read through their chat log, and it's filled with him creeping on her. And while she is saying things like, "But I'm married," and "No, I'm married," these read like very thin no's. Like she's saying no because she has to, but not because she wants to. I'm disgusted and absolutely floored about it. But since none of them mention anything happening yet, and she's denying him, albeit kindly, I can't exactly say that she's cheating. Well, when she gets home and our son is put to bed, I confront her over the situation, and she instantly breaks down. She is in tears, saying things like, "I didn't do anything. I didn't know how to tell you. I was just hoping he would stop." Now, she and I both suffered childhood sexual abuse from family friends. We've both went to years of therapy for it, and for that reason, we have very good communication skills when it comes to comfort and boundaries and how to express ourselves about unwanted advances. I love her, and I wanted to believe her, and that he was just being a creep, but the way she didn't tell me and acted seemingly normal leads me to believe something else was going on. I told her that I believed her and asked her if I could message him to tell him to back off and how disgusted I am that they're cousins, or if she would prefer to tell him and handle it herself. She first expressed that she would tell him that I knew and not to call her. But her resolve cracked as she was confident that this would just stop. I was furious about that, but didn't express it and told her that knowing she wasn't going to, I was going to give him a piece of my mind. This is my wife. If she's being harassed, I will end it. And if she's not being harassed, then she's cheating on me. So I messaged him. He saw it, but made no reply. The wife says I should just have let her handle the situation, and I told her there was no way I was going to keep quiet in the face of this. She seemed to understand and expressed in the end that I was probably right to confront him because she didn't know how to. Everything seemed to return to normal, but 3 days later, I came home and she's crying. I asked her what's wrong, and she said, quote, "It's Max. You should have let me handle it. I messaged him yesterday, and he won't talk to me." We had the conversation again about me not sitting by idly when someone is harassing my wife. She gave me a look. It wasn't much, and it was only for a second, but it gave me the impression that she didn't consider it harassment. We end the discussion in agreement that I handled it how any man would handle it. 2 days later, I'm coming to bed late at like 2 a.m. I was finishing up some work. I hear her on the phone with somebody kind of chuckling. This is not normal. She told me it was her mom and it had something to do with our kid's birthday, which I didn't buy. But at this point, I've begun playing stupid so I can observe the situation from a place where she feels comfortable. The next day, she's crying again, and at this point, I've really had it. She's been unstable for 2 weeks now. When I ask her if this is about Max again, she says she tried to call and apologize for not handling the situation herself, and that he still isn't talking to her. I admit it. I snapped. I told her that either he was abusing her or she was cheating on me, and I caught them. On the couch tonight, obviously, I wanted to believe her, but I'm not a moron. I'm essentially laying here with my finger on the button, waiting for some solid truth, because if this is what it's feeling like, I'm about to go 95,000 megaton nuclear on the both of them. Sorry for the length. I just don't know what I can do from here on out. Edit, thanks for all the input. She goes to work in 6 hours. I'll apologize for my outburst and ask her to sit down with me and talk tonight. It's Sunday, and our son typically stays the night with my parents every other Sunday. I'm not proud of it, but I feel it's in my best interest to do snooping. If I find nothing, we will discuss what happened when it started, and what I can do to help her, and what we ought to do moving forward. I love her, and the idea that she's being harassed by somebody who is supposed to love her breaks my heart. However, if I do find something solid or learn that she was complicit in any way, I'm done with the relationship that instant. I don't believe in marriage counseling in instances of infidelity, and even if I did, incest, there's no way I could look at her the same again. Will update.
If you want extra content weekly, head over to patreon.com/storytimesociety and become a member on there for extra content. Love you.
What is going on here? Like, I'm genuinely confused, and I almost just feel like she maybe is wanting things to be normal because she wants to be with her, like, she still wants to go to these family things. And I do know that in a lot of instances of like assault or of like being a victim of assault, sometimes you tend to want to continue a regular relationship with the person. And especially if it's family, I feel like even more so, you could be more motivated to try to keep a relationship regular and just like push that to the side and just be like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to see him all the time. I still want to be like involved with my family, and if I really accept this and accept that he was assaulting me or abusing me or whatever in any way, then the whole family's gonna implode. I obviously don't think that's the right thing to do, but I know that that is sometimes how victims will choose to cope with their situations, which it sucks and it's sad, but I don't know. I don't even know if she was like assaulted by him. I don't know what the situation is. I'm still very confused. I don't feel like there was a lot of detail in that, but it was definitely very long. Like, it was very long, but not much juice was given. So this is the update. So I didn't sleep at all last night, and when she woke up, I made breakfast. I told her I shouldn't have blown up and that we should probably sit down tonight and talk about things. She agreed, like she wasn't even upset to begin with, and said that she knew she had probably been acting badly. I told her that the sort of harassment she was dealing with was infinitely more difficult because he's a member of the family. She just seemed to agree with me. I wasn't going to snoop, but so many people on here told me that I need to, and not wanting to be accused of not taking the advice I asked for, I decided to go through with this and check her emails. With the way she was acting this morning, I had fewer reasons to be suspicious, but at this point, what the heck? And I did just that. The level of disgust, hatred, and anger I feel cannot be expressed right now, and there will be a divorce. There was one email entitled Yummy, and upon opening it, I found a picture of her cousin with semen on his face. The back and forths are him describing to her his encounters with random gay men. They make reference to past sexual encounters they've had together, complete with one picture of a strap-on dildo captioned, "I still have our old friend." Then I read some absolutely disgusting filth talk between them, where she's behaving in a very dominating way and insulting his penis size. Looking at the dates, I realized that this was from a year ago. As I continue to read, I'm able to figure out, at least from how it reads, that they used to hook up frequently but stopped after we got married. We were together for several years before we got married. Later, she starts using the "I'm married" excuse, but it's reading like that's just a kink of his, to be told he can't touch her anymore, which he probably does. I'm raising her effing kid, and she does this to me. I've wasted the last 6 years changing my work schedule and not taking better paying jobs because I need hours where I'm able to watch him. I went outside and sat on the front porch, called my brother over, and after explaining to him this entire situation, I asked him to take my gun from me for the time being. I'm not a violent person. I never have been. But in the state that I'm in now, I'm fluctuating between wanting to unalive him or wanting to do it to myself. I'm not going to, but I feel like I'm headed for a breakdown and I can't trust that I'll behave rationally. After this, I'm packing up my clothes and checking into a hotel. These conversations have all been printed. I've sent copies to myself, and when I have time, I'm digging for more dirt. I bought a pack of cigarettes, stopped smoking 4 years ago, and joy, I have to make an appointment at some STD clinic because according to these effing vile back and forths, a part of his thing is having unprotected sex with these men. My soon-to-be ex-wife has a device, and as such, I've never once in all these years worn protection with her. So now I apparently have months of biting my effing nails to look forward to. As I understand, AIDS tests take months. I know his work schedule roughly because I used to work at the same company he does. So maybe before checking in and composing myself, I'm just going to drive down to see his wife evidence in hand. There's no fixing this. There's no therapy, no hope, nothing positive. And I don't even care to entertain an apology. I'm divorcing the whore and she'll get nothing. I hate life right now. I don't feel depressed or sad. I haven't cried. I just have this hot ball of rage in my chest that the cigarettes only briefly cool. I can't be near her or him. I know I said I'm not violent, but man, I really want to beat the piss out of both of them.
Storytime Society is now available on all listening platforms. If you are on any of those listening platforms, I would really appreciate it if you rated me 5 stars. Thanks for all the support.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not really what I was expecting. I mean, I was really expecting some type of like abuse, which obviously I'm glad she wasn't being abused, but now this poor man has to deal with seeing all that, which is very disturbing to say the least. I mean, to see anyone messaging back and forth about sexual things, someone that you love, that you are in a sexual relationship with, and then also on the other hand, seeing that, oh, great, she's also been having unprotected, like, she does not give a fuck about me, because that's what that would show. Like, she does not give a flying fuck about the health of her partner, of her husband, because she's just engaging in unprotected sexual activity. And that is so scary. I mean, cheating in itself, obviously you don't really care about your partner. That's enough to be like, that's so fucked up. But then to have it, all these things be layered on top of that, that's just awful to have to deal with. The top comment says, I don't blame you for being suspicious. This is messed up, but at least you guys have tried to handle it through therapy. I'd keep researching, but at some point, if you have no evidence, then see what your wife was hoping would happen. Why does she feel the need to preserve the relationship with a creep? Okay, so clearly that comment was before he put an update, because that's like definitely addressing the first post that he made. But there is a year update that we're going to read. I, 26 male, think my wife is or was cheating on me with her cousin. 1 year update. A year ago today was the day I made the most life-changing discovery I'd ever made in my life. But I didn't know it at the time. I had just sat down to check Facebook, saw I had a message, and realized after I clicked it that it was my then wife's account that was active. Inside, there were messages of a sexual nature from her cousin, Max. That got the ball rolling, and within 3 weeks of this message, Max's then wife, Sherry, and I collected evidence of their incest affair stretching back to the days of MySpace. And through the trauma, she and I began supporting each other and then dating. A year later, she is the mother of my firstborn child. This affair has changed the lives of so many people involved and surrounding it. Max, my ex's cousin and affair partner, ingested a lethal amount of antifreeze. Though it is highly probable that this was a suicide, we were told by the doctors that treated him that he had ingested just enough to kill himself. sort of suggesting that he was trying to self-harm as a cry for help. Sherry had been living on a property owned by Max's parents, and they had taken her side when the affair was made public, but took back their support when he died. Fearing they'd evict her or worse, she and her daughter moved into my apartment. Max's death also saw my ex openly hated and despised by her family for her role in the affair. They had been blaming him for it and acting as though Max was a predator that had been abusing her until he died, and then the blame got shifted to her. She's no longer welcome at family gatherings, and the only people she speaks to is her own parents, and I think the only reason they haven't disowned her is because of my former stepson. My ex-wife had been letting me continue to see my stepson after we split. My relationship with Sherry was outed around the time of Max's death, and this ultimately led to her fighting me over it. It still baffles my mind that even after I caught her in a 10-year-long affair, she had the audacity to act as though me seeing another woman was some sort of crime worth taking away the son I had raised since he was only a few months old. Ultimately, though, I decided on my own to walk away from the entire situation, as I felt like our constant fighting and my lack of legal authority over him would lead him to be even more unhappy and traumatized than if I had just left. Those of you following me or reading the comments of other posts will know that Sherry and I have relocated to her home state, where I've started a new job and we're currently renting a home. We're also both in therapy, individual, and we're being counseled together. We both understand that a lot can go wrong with relationships that formed the way ours did, and we both want it to work. So we're working on communication and growing with one another so that we can better navigate the tough times when they come. We're both survivors of infidelity. The story of how we fell in love can never be a cute story to tell the kids. One thing I learned about my marriage through therapy is just how much my own parents' terrible marriage has affected me. My dad is a good guy, a loving father, and my mother is a wonderful woman, but their relationship is a mess. My ex-wife and I never really fought or got into huge fights. Now, kid living in a home with a loveless marriage, I always knew when things were bad. The loud arguments and the yelling and what have you, when things were quiet, things were good. It wasn't happy, it wasn't healthy, but it wasn't outright conflict, so I associated it with good and healthy. My ex-wife in all likelihood never loved me, and I've come to realize that just because we didn't fight and there was no outward conflicts, this by no means meant things were happy. It's just my only point of reference for goodness in a marriage was quiet, and I had quiet. I'll speak for Sherry a little as she's given me that permission to share. But she had been made to feel completely dependent upon Max for everything. They met online, dated long distance, and he convinced her to move in with him, even if doing so meant that she'd be dropping out of school. He also wanted to be one of those man of the house types, so he didn't allow her to work. No work, no school, pretty much meant no friends outside of Max and my ex's family. Even worse, a year into it, he revealed to her that he was a bisexual and informed her he'd see men every so often, and not knowing how to handle it, she just accepted that situation. She's now working on a means to get her GED so that she can find a job should she choose to. I'm more than happy to provide for the mother of my child, but after not having a say in her own life for so long, she needs to be free to decide what she wants to do with it. Last I heard about my ex is that she got into an altercation at a parking meter with a traffic cop or a meter maid or something, and the incident led to her arrest and discovered a whole host of prescription medication. At first I was told that she stole it from someone, but it turns out she's been doctor shopping. She ended up doing some token 3 weeks of jail time, and her parents are currently fighting to have custody of my stepson. Life got difficult for her real quick. I could write all day about this, but I'm going to end it here and answer questions if anybody wants to get more specific. But I think that just about does it. Thanks for all the support. You internet folks really helped talk me through all of this. Wait, why am I kind of like go off? Honestly, I know obviously that's not the healthiest way to start a marriage, but it's like at the same time, you're both going through the same thing, and it's like you feel like you could never find someone that's going through the same thing that you can relate to and that you can connect with. But here this person is. going through the exact same thing that you are pretty much, and you can just connect with them, and it's like maybe they will be. Maybe they will have a very happy, long-lasting marriage. I mean, they do have a kid, so like let's hope. I could only hope that for them. The top comment says, "Holy crap, I did not expect that. The whole story and you got with his ex-wife? Wow." And then someone said, "Even though you met her in such bad circumstances, you guys trying to build a good family there. Happy to hear the update. I think in your previous post you said you have some genetic condition and were afraid about maybe it would transfer to your child. I hope everything is okay regarding that." OP said, "This post would have been 8 pages longer had I included that. My son is happy and healthy. We had tests done during the pregnancy to check for the condition and everything checked out." I was actually wondering about that too. I kind of forgot to say that, but I wonder what made him change his mind about wanting to have a kid, because obviously he was saying how he didn't want to have a kid. Maybe he just didn't want to have a kid with her, and he felt a little bit more supported in having a kid with the new woman. We're going to move on to the advice segment. So if you ever want unprofessional advice from me, the link is in the description below. It's a Google form, so just leave as much detail as possible so that I can give you the best advice I possibly can. I also have a Google Voice number, which it's 561-264-7017. So if you ever want to leave a voicemail there and ask there instead of typing it out, you are more than welcome to do that. It's so funny because one of you, which if you're listening, hi, I love you. I don't know what happened, but for some reason the numbers or the calls were going through my phone, and I got this call from like a random number, and I was like, oh my god, like I always tell you guys, like I get so nervous whenever I get random calls from random phone numbers or even just calls from anyone. Like I automatically think something, I don't know, I think I have some trauma with that or something. I automatically think something's wrong, like it's an emergency or something. So I was like, oh fuck, who is this? And so I answered it, and it was one of you guys. And I was like, hello? And like I couldn't hear them because they were like cutting out, and then they couldn't hear me. And then all of a sudden they're like, I think I have the wrong number. Like, is this Jamie? And I was like, yeah, like who is this? And they were like, oh, like I thought this was the voicemail. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But I answered it, and it was so funny. But she was so cute and love her so much. But she did leave a voicemail, so I think this was her. So we're going to play that.
Hi, Jamie. Welcome to my voicemail. I'm so happy you exist and so happy you're alive. And this is my story, or this is what I need for advice. So I'm having the best year of my life. I'm engaged. I just got my passport. I just got a big promotion at work. And that's kind of where my problem is happening. I am going to elope to France with my wonderful fiance. And I'm going to stay with her and her family. Her brother's getting married, and I'm going to attend that wedding. It just so happens that in the same span of time, it's happening towards the end of August. My job is going to deal with a big, I don't know how to put it, like an audit. We're supposed to get like some government sanction for whatever we're doing. I work in manufacturing. And so I guess what I'm looking for advice in is, how do I tell my boss that when we're dealing with something serious at work that I absolutely can't be there? I'm just so, I'm so concerned about this. I don't know. Do I put my career first, or do I put the love of my life first? And it's such a divisive thing. I don't want to put off meeting my in-laws. I just got my passport, so it would be the first time that I'm meeting any of her family. We've been together for 4 years, and she's been coming to the States every single time. This is the first time I'm going to be going over there to France. And I feel like that's more important to me. But I also love my job. I love the people I work with. I don't want to disrespect them, but I just don't know how to bring it up to them.
Okay, I love you. I love hearing your guys' voices. Like, I would love if this, I know that not everyone's comfortable with that, obviously, but I would really love if that were like the main source of where the advice segment comes from, especially because after reading so much and like talking so much, it's nice to have a little break and have you guys be speaking, and I just feel like more connected to you as well. So if you ever feel comfortable doing that, I would love it. Seriously, love you so much. Yeah, I just think, I don't know, I love it. I love hearing it come from your guys' mouths. But I would say definitely, girl, put your fiance first, and put your like big life experience like that. Your career is gonna be there for you. I mean, they're not gonna fire you over that, and if they do, then that's definitely like wrongful termination. You have every right choose yourself and choose an experience in France meeting your fiance's family. Like, that sounds amazing. And I think that the whole purpose of life is experiences like this, you know, and it's fine. Like, obviously you love your career and I'm sure you are so valued there, and they should understand that this is the time that it works best. This is the time that you're going to go. You seem very committed to your career. You seem like a very good employee that I'm sure they are just so lucky to have. And obviously you being worried about this clearly shows you really care about the people you work for, the people you work with, and your company. And I think that in itself is just enough to say, like, you deserve this. You deserve to go. You deserve to put yourself and your fiance first and go have the time of your life in France. Go meet your fiance's family and get eloped. I don't know. Elope. And you're never going to forget that experience. Life is about living, and life is about experiencing things. And yes, of course, we have to make money and we have to have a career, and that has to come from somewhere, obviously. But I just think you have to do things that make you happy. And sometimes and I know that you're asking, like, how do you tell them? I think that you literally should do exactly what you just did. Well, honestly, you seem like the type of person that doesn't really say things straight up. Like, you're not going to be blunt being like, hey, I'm taking this day and this day off. So maybe you could just, I don't know, if you're close with I'm not the best at this kind of stuff because I'm kind of the same as you. Like, I get very nervous about that stuff, and I totally get where you're coming from. Like, this is exactly how I am when it comes to, like, work in situations like that and having to let someone know. Like, sometimes I will just, like, put my feelings aside. Most of the time I'll put my feelings aside just because I'm so fearful of hurting someone else or making things harder for someone else, or, you know, like, I'm always worried about everything else other than myself. But I think in this situation, you should worry about yourself. I think be the kind person that you are and talk to your boss and be like, hey, you know, I'm really sorry that this is the time that I have to go on this. I don't know if you should even apologize. Guys, I need some help here in the comments, please, to the people that are more, like, blunt and better at confrontation, because I'm not. So, like, this is what I would say, because this is the type of person that I am. I always apologize. I'm like, I'm really sorry that this is the time that I have to go on this. I'm really sorry that it's an inconvenient time, but I am going to France. I'm going to meet my fiance's parents, and I'm going to elope, and this is a big moment for me. And I mean, you really don't have to even explain that you're doing all of that, but I'm saying what I would do, and I always over explain because I feel like I have to validate or justify the reason that I have to do something. So that's what I would do. I'd just be like, and I feel like that's just the person I am, is an over explainer, because I don't want anyone to ever think poorly of something that I'm doing or that I'm doing it in a malicious way. Yeah, I say you just need to get it over with so that you're done worrying about it and you don't have to worry about it anymore, and you can just look forward to meeting your fiance's parents and going to France. I mean, that sounds amazing. Like, I'm so jealous, and I wish I were coming to France with you. So that's the best I can do. But obviously, if you were watching this, someone, and you're better at confrontation and you're better at, like, corporate jargon, and you have advice, please leave it in the comments below, because I know I always see TikToks of, like, people giving advice about that kind of stuff, and it's always like a girl being like, this is what you want to say. You want to over explain it. You want to be like, you know, be justifying everything, but the real way to talk about it and to set your boundaries, because work is not life. Like, yes, you do work to live because you have to, and you have to make money, but you also deserve your life. You know, you deserve to have a work-life balance. You deserve to have happiness outside of work. You deserve to do things. Your life shouldn't revolve around your work. I hope that helped, at least even just a little bit. As I said, please leave in the comments if you have any advice for that, because I don't know if that even helps but I love you. And thank you so much for leaving that voicemail. I love to hear your voice, and I hope that you get it figured out. But that's the end of that episode. So I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Please let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments below. I have a new podcast, and it's going to be linked below. It's a ghostly, spooky podcast, and I'm just getting a hang of it. So please go support me. I would love to have your support, and if you like spooky stuff, it will be perfect for you. So yeah, love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye.
My merch is out. Yeah, but this is it. And this comes in pink, black, and white. If you want to get a little cute piece of merch, go grab one. Link is in the description to purchase.
Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.